And a good Monday, everybody. Welcome in Chase and Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. He's Big Joe Dubin. I'm Chase McCabe. We are live today at the Opryland, Gaylord Opryland Hotel for the AFCA, the Coaches Convention, the American Football Coaches Association.
It's a big deal. There's almost every college coach in the country is converged on Nashville, Tennessee for this
Except
big
for
event.
two that are busy later.
It's for two and their staffs, which are busy later tonight. So this is always a big deal. It's basically a networking kind of thing. You come and talk to the coaches. There's like 8 bulletin boards out there. You post a job up there, and so a lot of handshaking going on, and a lot of jobs that are being filled because of this convention in Nashville. So it is a big, big deal.
Yes, it is. And obviously there is so much for us to get into as soon as I can figure out the Wi-Fi, which seems to be a trouble for me.
It's
Not
okay,
that you
buddy.
care about that out there. But the Titans go and they play spoiler yesterday. They win, and I guess you can call it a revenge factor as they beat the Jags and keep the Jags out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it was great. It was at the game yesterday. The crowd was into it. Of course, everybody was going to see Derrick Henry's farewell, but it was fun. I mean, it was exciting, and they knocked him out. And it was funny. I was going to comment about this, but I was like, nobody cares. There were a lot of Steeler fans that were there yesterday.
I saw that.
And I was like, why are they here? And they were all happy because if Jacksonville got knocked out, Pittsburgh made the playoffs. And so they did. Jacksonville fans turned up. I'll give them to them. That was like a couple sections were just packed with Jacksonville fans. But too bad they went home upset, and the Titans closed out the year on a win.
Yeah, they did. And there's a lot of different elements. You mentioned, is it the Derrick Henry farewell game? I got to give him, credit not only for his on-field performance, but also the speech at the end of the game to the fans and then his press conference afterwards. I know I walked away from both going, well, that was both a goodbye and I'd love to come back.
Yeah, right.
It was kind of like it was you walk away from that not having an answer at all, which – is how he should have done it. It's the perfect way for him to do it.
Well, not only that, I mean, he's always been so gracious every time I've dealt with him, he's been perfect. He's been fine. And that's a hell of a way to go out. I mean, he's always destroyed the Jags like that, and he didn't in fine fashion yesterday. Now, you can deal with that later on, but now it becomes a thing with Vrabel. I mean, 2 coaches have already been fired with Arthur Smith and Ron Rivera in Washington, and I'm sure more to come. So that all came out like late last night, too, with Arthur Smith being let go. So, and now a lot of Titans fans will bring him back. If I'm Arthur Smith, do you want to go back and, just go out and go someplace else? And who knows? But
all right, let's just start with that. Titans fans, put your ear up to the radio and listen to me. Stop always wanting to bring people back. There are other people out there that can come and coach. You don't have to go with what you know. And guess what? Tim Kelly, he did not do that bad of a job. He had no offensive line, even though I guess they had one left in them yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
And did okay. But it's not Tim Kelly's fault. Tim Kelly does not need to go anywhere. If Vrabel stays, Tim Kelly can come back and be the offensive coordinator. He was fine. Had a rookie quarterback, had no offensive line.
Zero.
Had hardly any weapons except for 22 and 10. It's not Tim Kelly's fault. Stop with this whole, Arthur Smith was a great OC for 2 years, so let's just bring him back. Jim Schwartz was a great defensive coordinator. Let's make him the head coach. Let's go with all these names that we're familiar with and that we know, and they just feel all good. And then you want to complain about Mike Vrabel bringing in his friends. You're doing the same thing. Stop it.
Well, I like the Mike Munchak, but Amy Adams needs to go find him and give him all the money.
He doesn't want to come back.
No.
He's retired. He's being grandpa. Leave him alone.
Yeah, he's done. But you know what? Offensive coordinators around the league are, for the most part, average or above average. I mean, the Jacksonville, when they got the ball on the 1-yard line, the calls they made down there were awful.
Yep.
Just absolutely awful. So don't get on your offensive coordinator. I mean, Kelly's called some bad. They all call bad plays.
Sure.
Bottom line is they got the win yesterday, and now you hit the offseason and see what happens. But now, I mean, it's just this whole Vrabel and what's going to happen and the discontent between him and Rand and Amy and the organization and yada, yada, yada. And the Titans' best beat reporter, Diana Rossini, always seems to know everything that goes on within the organization and what's going to happen there with him. Who knows?
Right. Well, a couple things of note.
Okay.
And I am going to read something into this. The Titans sent out the notice last night that the locker room will be open today. During our show, there was no mention of a final press conference from Mike Vrabel. That has yet to come out, unless it's come out in the last few minutes, which I'm checking my email. I have not seen that.
Right.
There is a report from Jordan Schultz, who is, a pretty good NFL reporter, has put out that says he's with Bleacher Report. Sources to Bleacher Report, as the Titans weigh head coach Mike Vrabel's future this week, he's interested in the idea of returning to the Patriots should New England part ways with Bill Belichick. That's just according to Jordan Schultz, which I don't think there's anything to say there.
That's just what everybody else has been reporting for weeks and forever.
Right. It's one person says, I bet the conversation could be, hey, if Mike gets let go in Tennessee, would he go back to New England? Yeah, probably. And that becomes, Mike Vrabel is interested in going to the Patriots.
Well, I like it when he went up there and got inducted in the Hall of Fame and he sat in Kraft's box. You mean to tell me at no point did they mention?
Of course they did. Of course they did. And that's why everybody's up in arms about it, because they know that they probably, in some sort of way, discussed it.
Yeah, I hope he takes the job, because we were told it was a nothing burger by some Titans reporters when he went up there to do that, and the speech he gave, and all right, whatever. I hope he does take the job. That way I can pump my chest. It was a big deal when he went up there and did all that stuff and what he said, he complained when he went up there and talked to the Patriots and all that. But now it's what's going to happen now? Is it going to be today, tomorrow, whatever? I mean, who knows? And we'll see. But, for last I checked, New England still got a coach, right?
Yeah, and how about this? So he had his end of the year press conference at 7:30 this morning, which is such a Belichick move,
right?
Yeah. So I mean, he had his. There are reports from a lot of the reporters. It's Office, by the way. You told me the wrong one.
Okay.
But that he's out, and that Belichick will be out. So who knows? But look, I don't know if this is resolved today. I think it probably isn't. And we're just going to have to kind of sit and wait, because especially if he does want to go to New England, they're going to have to work out a trade.
Give me my money if I'm Amy Adams. So the question is today for Titans fans, do you want Vrabel back? I mean, we could debate Derrick Henry, if you had to take him or Eddie George. That's all debatable down the road. But today, I mean, the most kind of important thing is, do you want Mike Vrabel back? I mean, do you want him to coach the Titans in 2024 to come back? And if he did, what changes would you like to see if he comes back on this football team?
My answer is yes, if he's 100% in. And only one person is going to be able to get that answer, and her name is Amy Adams Strunk.
Right, yeah.
If there's a rift between him and Carthon, everybody wants to put out there, and he's like, look, I can't make this work, then you're probably going to move. He's probably gone.
Right.
But, people come up to me and they go, hey, you think they need to move on from Vrabel? He's not very good, right? Well, the last 2 years, no, he hasn't been very good. But there's a lot of, circumstances there that are some his fault and some are not his fault.
Sure.
And so you have to factor that in. The fact of the matter is he's been pretty good with this organization. I mean, he's second, I think, behind Fisher, Titans-wise, when it comes to wins.
Okay. But he's been there 6 years. He's made the playoffs half the time he's been there.
Right, including an AFC Championship game appearance.
Yep.
So you have to weigh that. Then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, how does the organization look from afar to potential coaching candidates? Some of the hot names that are going to be out there: Bobby Slowick, Dan Quinn. Maybe Belichick is a name that is going to be out there.
Right.
All right. You have to think about that. Do they want to come here? If all this stuff's been out there about, well, the owner has dictated who the GM is, and it's a collaboration, and you have to work together.
I tell you, yes, I could walk 100 yards, and there are 4,000 coaches over here and say, would you take the Titans job?
Well, yeah, but come on. That's different. Yeah, but that's
single one of them.
I'm talking about NFL coaches.
Absolutely. You're the DC for the Lions or whomever, and then somebody say, you want to be head coach of any NFL team. What's the worst run the Cardinals, right? Arizona Cardinals. Would you take the head coaching job there? Absolutely, you would.
Sure. I mean, to your point, yes.
Yeah.
But I think there are some, like Dan Quinn has been the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys for 2 years. He's been mentioned for every coaching job that's been available. He took a team to the Super Bowl. He stayed put.
Yeah.
A guy like that has his choice.
Yeah, he does. So you get in that position when you have your choice. But how many have their choice?
True.
How many have their choice to pick out where they want to go? But if you're, somebody's like, hey, you get a head coach of the Titans in a second. There are only 32 of those jobs in the entire world. Every coach would jump the opportunity to do that. And if you're lucky like Dan Quinn or a few others where you can pick and choose where you need to – that's great. Good for them. Fantastic. But those are few and far between. But we will see what happens. I don't – usually you get an inkling one way or the other. I don't know on this. I really don't know on this what's going to happen.
I have no idea.
But I will tell you, in the world of where we are now, be careful to jump to information conclusions because people so desperately want to be first and so desperately want to get out there and have their name attached to it. Just let it all play out, and you can react accordingly when it comes down the line.
615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Give us your thoughts on the Titans and what is next for them. Will Mike Vrabel remain? And, again, we're watching the coaching carousel right now as, there are going to be moves. Arthur Smith is out in Atlanta. Ron Rivera is out in Washington. The GM is out in Carolina, so they'll be looking for a coach and a GM.
Wow.
Now, that's an organization. I don't care how badly you want to be a head coach in the league. Like, if Dave Tepper called me, I'd be like, I'm sorry, you got the wrong number.
You'd still take it, man.
Throwing drinks at fans.
You'd still take that job. You still would do it because it's an NFL coaching job. But I understand what you're saying for all that. But, yeah, I mean, they're going to start. How many – we'll get into this later on, though. But, the jobs that are open now, like if the Raiders don't hire Antonio Pierce soon, I mean, the players love him.
Right.
Love
him. He should. He should get the job.
Somebody said, I was reading somewhere, some report about how, as a coach, every other word he says is a cuss word.
Who?
Antonio Pierce. Like every other word, and they said they're afraid he's going to cuss on TV. I'm like, that's what you're worried about? For a guy that you could tell him, hey, man, have a guy next to him, hey, don't cuss as much and do whatever. But Antonio Pierce should absolutely get that job. Those players love being for him. And we also need to react what happened at the end of the Saints-Falcons game yesterday.
Oh, we will. We'll get into that.
My goodness, man. Crazy stuff.
We will definitely get into that. 615-737-1025. The Titans win yesterday. What is next for Mike Vrabel? And Derrick Henry. By the way, our friend Jill Jelnick tweeted at us, listening to Chasing Big Joe this morning, talk about Derrick Henry's thank you speech yesterday. Guys, I said it yesterday. Henry should teach a master class about how to give a great send-off but not commit to goodbye just yet.
Ooh.
Floyd Reese would be very proud of that man as he said something without saying anything, basically.
Okay, yeah.
is what it was. But we will continue to discuss that live today at the Opryland Hotel, the AFCA, the Coaches Convention, here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, here's Big Joe again telling you about my favorite place, Medical House Calls. I love talking about Medical House Calls. At the game yesterday, people asking me about Medical House Calls, how it works. Let me tell you what, it's Middle Tennessee's best health care in the comfort of your own home. I am talking about Medical House Calls, where the nearest clinic is your home. The website is simple, medicalhousecalls.com. No more heading to an urgent care, no more sitting in a waiting room. Board-certified nurse practitioners and physician's assistants, they come to you. And look, just don't take my word. Just read the numerous fantastic reviews that Medical House Calls has gotten. It is a game changer. In fact, Chuck McDowell was a client. He loved the service so much, he bought the company. And for years, I had to leave work early to check on my mom when she was sick. Now you can have medical house calls, check in on your loved ones to make sure everything is going okay. It's so good, so impressive. Again, visit the website today, medicalhousecalls.com.
Want to finish with class, finish the season in a classy manner. Is that you want to see effort, want to see guys play like they did today?
Of course, that's what we've done, and that's what we want to continue to do. And win, and be able to win, and be able to get off to a good start, and be able to control the football game, and have a 2-score lead, and somewhat put the pressure on them to execute. And I thought that I thought we would have finished. When we converted, which was a fantastic play by Ryan to be able to pump it and hold it, not throw it into to Allen, and then a fantastic job by Kyle to kind of get in there behind guys, and then the pile push that we talk about and show every week, and how critical that is at that point in time. So I thought we were going to finish it off, and that didn't happen. But then we're able to get the punt off, cover the punt well, and just great complementary football, and did a great job of situational play. We got them backed up down there, or we're backed up, and we hard count, gets us off the goal line. Those are all things that when we're operating and we're functioning and winning, those are all the things that we're doing positively, and not the other way around.
That was Mike Vrabel yesterday after the win, as the Titans knock off Jacksonville and they miss out on making the playoffs. So returning the favor from last year. It was a very similar situation for the Jags that the Titans were in.
Yeah.
At one point at 7-3, the Jags at 8-3, lose a bunch and end up missing the playoffs altogether, including the division. The Houston Texans winning the AFC
Yeah,
South.
right.
Everybody had that on their bingo card to start the year.
Well, we had John McClain on. John McClain said he picked them to win 3 games.
Yeah.
So you just never know when, new blood and a new coach, a new direction, a new attitude comes in, what it can do for the football team. Plus, as we see in the National Football League, if you got a good quarterback, you're always in the game, and C.J. Stroud is years ahead of where a rookie should be. And they're rolling. They believe in the process and believe in what they're doing. And now they're hosting the Cleveland Browns on Saturday in the playoff. It's just crazy, but that's why we love the uncertainty of what happens in professional sports.
How poetic is it that the Houston Texans fans had to pull for the Titans yesterday to help them out?
Yeah, exactly. And they did. I didn't see the Titans played well yesterday. I just didn't see the urgency from Jacksonville to win you're in. The last series for Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence was awful.
Did not look good.
Just awful.
I don't know how hurt he was. I know he was playing through some stuff. He'd missed the game and the shoulder and all of that. But your season's on the line. You can make the playoffs for the second year in a row. You can win the division for the second year in a row. And that's the performance. And look, you had to know, Doug Peterson had to know going into this, hey, guys, this is Tannehill starting. It's his last hurrah.
Yep.
And also it's probably the last one for Henry. Who knows with Vrabel? They were going to be juiced yesterday. That team, that Titans team showed up. We've talked about how many times this year that they've been uninspired. They were inspired yesterday.
They were.
Tell.
Oh, they absolutely were.
And I think the quarterback and running back had a lot to do with that.
It's just you wish you could see that for 17 games, but it is what it is, and they ride off with a big win yesterday. And there's a lot of positive look forward to. Tajay Spears, just looking at him yesterday, how quick he is and fast he is.
Yeah.
Now, he's not going to be a 35-carry-a-game running back, but again,
that offense is changing.
Nobody is.
Right.
Nobody in the NFL. If you get – I wonder how many people got 25 carries this year in a game. It's usually like 15, 18 to 20. So you don't need that anymore. So if Derrick Henry does leave, go out and get another running back who is, 75%, of Derrick. Somebody said Dante Foreman would come back and be a good running back. Sure. Whatever, but
Derrick had 25 in week 2 against the Chargers.
Okay.
For 80 yards.
Ooh, that's a lot of carries for 3 yards.
3.2 per carry.
So those days are long gone now. But Spears looked great yesterday, and there's some things. But Chig looked good yesterday as well.
He did. And here's the thing on Henry, he didn't hit 300 carries for, the first time. Well, he 219 the year he got hurt, but since he really became the bell cow for this team in 2019, he'd always been over 300 carries. He was at 280.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go with that. So it's going to be, they don't have to do anything. What free agency is in March. You'll figure out some things there, what's going on. There'll be some rambling of what's going to happen, if he's going to sign here or go there, but there's still time to process it. Again, the main thing is what do you do with your head coach?
Going to pick 7th in the draft. And I've seen the –
Go ahead.
I've seen the people that are like, well, if you had lost yesterday, they would have picked – where they would have picked? They had lost? 6th.
Is that what it is? I saw 5th or 6th. It doesn't matter.
said 5th. I've read, and everything that I've read has been – and maybe Paul's right, but everything I've seen is 6th. It was the difference in one position.
I'll take Paul's word. And then Jeffrey Simmons with that tweet, which made me laugh, he said, y'all are wild if y'all want to think we're going to go out there and lose. I don't get the mindset of people wanting your football team to lose.
It's the fan mindset. It's just that's the,
We're going to miss out on some. Look, again, it's the draft is inexact science. You don't know what you're going to get there.
Somebody put out a list last night of in the last 10 years players drafted with the 7th overall.
I saw that. Yes,
there are 2 guys named Josh Allen that have turned out to be pretty good. One's a pass rusher and one's a quarterback.
What about the other ones? Yeah, exactly,
okay.
Right? Yeah.
But Penei Sewell was one of them, and that would be the position that the Titans probably need to look at.
That sounds like something you can get like an Italian restaurant.
Yeah. I'll have the Penei Sewell.
Yeah, the Penei Sewell. with the number 7 Chardonnay. That'll go good. I'll do that.
So there's a ton of uncertainty.
Well, let me ask you
this team.
Chase McCabe. Should you want Mike Vrabel to come back?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Because the big reason is I don't trust them to do better.
That's sad.
I don't trust them to do better. And I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's a great coach, but I don't think he's bad. And I think if you put him in the – you got to figure out what this dynamic looks like. Is he in charge? Is it truly a collaboration, which those don't work, or is Rand in charge or whatever? Amy needs to own the team and then get out of the way of the football stuff. I mean that with all due respect. But I would say that to every owner in the National Football League, including Jerry Jones.
Right.
Own the team. Go to your events. Wave. Do your thing. Maybe speak every now and then if you want to.
Sure.
But you don't have to. But let the football people run the football team. You hire them for a reason. Like the corporations and the organizations in this country or in this world that fail are the ones that hire people to do a job and then they don't let them do their job.
That's a good point. Do you give him if you had another year? Do you give him like this is your year? This is it?
Yeah, but I mean probably, which is going to make it difficult, to find coaches that want to come in here.
True.
Because you are going to need to make some changes. I would look at Shane Bowen. You made the special teams change. I would look at that position again, and not necessarily go with the interim. Offensive line, you didn't give him much to work with, but if there's an outside guy that'd be willing to come in here and look, I'd take a look at that. I mean, you're going to need to make some coaching changes. Tim Kelly's fine. I'd bring Tim Kelly back.
Okay. I think it's time just to move on. If I'm
Okay, then are you firing him? Or are you going to call Bob Kraft and say, hey, what do you what
I'd
can we
sit
work
Mike
out?
down and say, what do you want to do? Well, tell me what you want to do. Do you want to go? We can work something out if you want to be here. It's all dependent on him, I think.
Yeah, and you have to have that conversation.
Right. Maybe it's
and I
happening
think
now.
that conversation is probably happening as we speak.
Yeah, it has to. The whole thing with Rand, Carthon, and him, and are they getting along? It's just, again, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's all this that's going on there. It's, it's eerily similar when Fisher was let go after the 2010 season, and we had all that, is he going to let go? Then they let him go, and then what's happened? And the Munchak comes in. It was just as Fisher. But we knew then that Fisher was gone because he had that one more year, and we signed the coordinator, the coaches to another contract, and I think many people, he did it without the GM knowing. I mean, all the stuff that went on, allegedly with all that back then, it was just a time of uncertainty. And so the Munchak walks in here, but I don't know, man. It's a decision they're going to have to make and make it soon.
2491 real quick says, so are you guys going to purchase Peacock? Only way to watch the Chiefs-Dolphins game, so fraudulent. So one, I already have it because when I had WWE Network, it transferred to that, so I have Peacock. And I have Xfinity, so there's that.
Okay.
I think it's brilliant that they put the Chiefs on the streaming service because that's the way you get the Swifties. And don't tell me that they didn't think about that.
That's a good point. I don't know how that played into the Saturday night game and what's going to happen. I predicted that the Saturday early game would be the Texans and Browns because overall nobody cares.
Yeah, right.
So you just shove it there at 3:30 on the Saturday. But he's got a good point. I don't have it. I'm not paying a dime to watch.
So go to a bar.
Football.
If you really want to watch it, then go to a bar.
I'm not, and then somebody's like, "Well, it's coming, the Super Bowl." Then I'm not paying. I'm not paying to watch anything like that. I'm not paying.
Then
for
you're
it.
going to get left behind because that's where it's going.
Then leave me behind.
Everybody that wants to complain about this, complain about it all you want, but that's where it's going.
I think more people aren't going. I think more people are on the side of, I ain't spending money on that.
And I say this with all the respect in the world. It's your generation that is going to say that.
Good.
The older than me.
Your younger generation, they ain't watching this. They're not watching. They're watching Instagram and TikTok.
Right. They'll see the highlights there, but they have the streaming services. More people have the streaming services my age than they do your age.
Well, yeah, sure.
And so that's who they're after.
Okay.
So but I think we're a ways away from like the Super Bowl being exclusively on a streaming network.
I don't know.
It'll just be on both for a while. We'll talk to Brett Kern, former Titans punter, coming up next, get his thoughts on the Titans' day yesterday, Derrick Henry, Mike Vrabel. All of that is on the table. Live at Opryland Hotel, chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, brought to you by Regal Realty Group. We're live today at the Opryland Hotel, the AFCA, the American Football Coaches Association, their annual convention. And our man, Nick Frazier, Dr. Crane, is back at the Spring Hill Heating and Cooling Game Nashville studios, keeping your home feeling comfortable all year round, as we do every Monday. And it's been a while. We haven't had a Monday show. We talked to Brett Kern, former Titans punter. He's on the line with us. Brett, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing fantastic. Just trying to figure out what Amy Adams-Strunk and the Tennessee Titans are going to do moving forward. But let's start yesterday. An awesome effort by the Titans. They get the win. They knock Jacksonville off and keep Jacksonville out of the playoffs. And if it in fact was Derrick Henry's final game at Nissan Stadium as a Titan, he went out in a blaze of glory, looking awesome, like we can always remember the King in that way. What a performance by him.
Yeah, I really hope that's not his last game as a Titan. I think you and I were texting yesterday during the game of, making a case is that's why you keep him. If you get an offensive line in front, that does what they did yesterday. You kind of stay out of obvious passing situations, which is, easier said than done. But if you stay out of those situations and you got the run game going, it kind of opens up that play action pass. And that just yesterday kind of reminded me of that 2019, the Titans, in 2019 when we were rolling and, went up to New England and won at Baltimore. It was just one of those where you relied on Derrick and, you throw it in Tajay a little bit. Just that mix to Derrick's power in the game that he has, and allows Tannehill to, go out and, it's not like he threw for 300 yards or anything like that, but you don't need that. He was efficient,
Right.
And he did what he needed to do. And it was a really good win. And I think we talked yesterday too about, would you rather be the Titans? They didn't have the season they wanted to, but it just seems like there's enough parity in the sense of really anybody could have won the division this year. And I think even the Titans could have, if you got a little bit more consistent play like you did yesterday. Would you rather be the Titans who just knocked the team out of the playoffs, or, would you rather be Jacksonville who really kind of squandered the division, right? And now you have to go into the offseason really just kind of in a depressed state, where at least the Titans, you kind of have a little bit of hope, but there's obviously a lot of uncertainty that comes with that.
Yeah, and with Derrick, I mean, look, he had a great – if it's a send-off, it was an awesome send-off, talk to the fans and then in his press conference. But I thought he did a really good job of basically saying the goodbye with also saying, yeah, if it's right, I'll come back. And so it's kind of open on what exactly happens there. Everybody will say it's a business, and they understand that it's a business. You went through it not long ago of just the business part of it. And then they brought you back. You retired a Titan. You have all that. But I know how tough it has to be, to look at it. He's been here 8 years, and if this is the end, even though it could be fun for him to go out and experience free agency and sign on with a contender and all of that, there's still the human aspect to it that I think people lose sight of.
Yeah, and I think it's, I tell people that the business of the NFL is undefeated. I don't think there's really ever a time where a player comes out on top, right? And that's just how it works, right? But, for Derrick, I mean, he poured 8 years of his career. He's only been a Titan, right? What he's contributed to the city, to the fan base, to the organization. I sent him a text last night that I just said, hey, man, I appreciate it that my kids can look up to you, right? That's not the case for every NFL player, but my kids, they love Derrick. Derrick's always been super kind, goes out of his way to talk to them and so many other people, right? That's just the kind of guy he is. So, I'm sure there's probably an inner struggle of just knowing what he's done here and for the city and what he's done for this franchise. And then, going somewhere else, like it's not easy, like, and the grass isn't always greener on the other side per se, but you're going to a different city. It's a totally different staff, new people, new routines, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes that can throw you for a little bit too. But, I think for him, if, yesterday was his last game as a Titan, I mean, that's just, he went out with an incredible game. Obviously, I think, the main reason why they won the game.
Former Titans punter Brett Kern with us here on the Chasing Big Joe show. How should Titans fans remember Ryan Tannehill and his tenure here?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people with a lot of different feelings on Ryan. For me personally, I would say if Ryan's not back in any way, shape, or form, Ryan, my locker was next to his for the whole time, that I was a Titan with him. So it's 4 years. And I could say that he's probably one of the toughest guys that I've ever been around. He would come in on a Monday, and to kind of see what he was going through post-game, the things that were hurting, the things that was bothering him with his body. And he would never use it as an excuse, never use it as a crutch. He would just go on and do his business. And he was, like I said, probably the toughest guy that I've really played against, just to see his work ethic and everything like that. And so I just think that, as Titans fans, just appreciate what he's given. He's done a lot of good things, really good guy. And so he's, obviously you go to the AFC Championship game, won us a lot of games, kept us in a lot of games. And there's some ups and downs. People can, you can look at the negative of everybody that you watch on TV or anything like that. But really, he's Class A player. And if he's not back, I just, wish him the best and know that he did a lot for this city and for this organization, just like Derek.
You're one of the few that can say you played for every head coach that the Titans have had, all the way back to Jeff Fisher, but you spent a good chunk of time with Mike Vrabel. There are rumors surrounding him on whether he wants to be back, if he wants to go to New England, do they want him back? Various reports out there. Why should Mike Vrabel remain the head coach of the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that Vrabel has a unique way of yesterday I'm watching the game, right? And I'm looking kind of on special teams, offense, defense. What the Titans went through 83 guys this year, which is the most in the NFL, which is a lot, and it's kind of a reoccurring theme. But you find a way to take these guys that really are looking for an opportunity. They just want a chance to go out and play. And he has a way of motivating these guys to go play football. And so it's a unique ability that he has. And so, we've had a lot of success under Vrabel, and I just think that obviously it's just a matter of, can he get the guys that he wants, the players that he wants to kind of run, to kind of do what he wants to do, to be successful. I don't know if I don't know what's going on with him or Rand or anything like that, or the relationship that they have. I don't think anybody will ever know that, right? And so
Sure.
I think it's just a matter of getting the guys that he wants, the players that he wants, to run what he wants to do and to be successful.
Well, it is certainly going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I'm sure a lot will change between now and the next time we talk, but we will see. That is for sure. Appreciate it, Brett.
Yep, absolutely. Have a good one.
Talk to you soon. Brett Kern, former Titans punter, joining us every Monday at 9:30, getting his thoughts on everything with the two-tone blue. We'll react to some of that, and I'll also get you updated on some of the news. Plus, there was something that Ryan Tannehill said after the game yesterday, talking about going rogue, that Joe and I are going to get into coming up next.
I got burned on Twitter by that. Well, I don't care, man.
That's fine. I have not said how I feel one way or another
right.
yet, so I've saved it for the show. We'll do that next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
aware of where DeAndre was with his incentives, and how much did it mean to help him kind of hit some of those numbers?
Yeah, no, I was very aware. Very aware. I thought we were actually a couple yards short, and I told him, hey, I'm going to get you this ball. I don't care what they call. I'm going to get you this ball. And they said he ended up getting it. So, thankful that I didn't have to go rogue there and call a pass play at the end. But I was like, hey, I got nothing to lose here. I mean, I'm out anyway. So, like, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? So, thankful he was able to hit that. Obviously, wanted that for him and what he's meant for this team over the course of this year. Showed up for us week in and week out and made huge plays over the course of the season.
That was Ryan Tannehill yesterday after the Titans win. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Didn't want to have to go rogue. Wanted to make sure that D-Hop hit his incentives, and he did just that. So you were very passionate about this, saying that
Yes.
you viewed it as Ryan Tannehill was valuing DeAndre Hopkins' stats over winning. Why did you feel that way?
Because you run the play you're called. You don't go out there. What would happen last play of the game? Hopkins needs 5 yards to get a $100,000 bonus, but Traylon Burks wide up in the end zone, and you're on the 25-yard line, and Hopkins is the 20. Do you throw to Hopkins still?
I think Tannehill would have gone to Burks.
Okay. Well, according to that, he wouldn't have. I
Yeah,
mean, so what point does that put in there? Call the play. You get audible out of it, but give me the like, hey, I got a different read. Like, just don't be blatant about trying to hit the going to help him get. You're valuing you over team, and that was my only thing. Be like, well, how dare you? They won the game anyway. I get all that, but you told me you're valuing the player over the team, and which we're always taught. And you get up there and you run your mouth about team, and then this pops up. You're like, wow, at this point, it's me over team.
Dennis Allen called victory yesterday, and Jameis Winston didn't run it.
Yeah, so
He ran a play for a touchdown.
I'd be furious at Jameis Winston.
But we've sat here and we've talked about, hey, you don't like running up the score. He wanted to get the guy the ball and get him a touchdown.
Run the play you're called. Run the play that's given to you. Run the play that's given to you. And so, I mean, Dennis Allen, Arthur Smith goes there and was livid, and Dennis Allen's like, I mean, what do you do at that point?
Sure.
Then why have a coach?
That's not the play I called.
Right. Then why have a coach?
Right.
Why, if you're going to do that, why have a coach? It's the players do what they want to. Hell, LeBron's been doing the NBA for years, right? Running his own team. I mean, he's won championship. That's great and all that stuff. But why have a coach?
So I think a lot of what Tannehill said was a little tongue-in-cheek.
Okay, I wasn't there. I heard the thing.
I think it was a little tongue-in-cheek. I think that Ryan is a pro, and I believe that DeAndre Hopkins has been a player that has, in the 5 wins that you've had this year, or 6 that you've had this year, has been the guy that has helped you get those 6 wins.
Okay.
He's been one of your best offensive players. So I don't have a problem with the quarterback saying, yeah, I'm going to get DeAndre the ball, whether it's for incentives or whatever.
Zero. You see zero problem with that.
No, because he's the best offensive player not named Derrick Henry.
No. We're not talking about that. It's about getting him the ball to hit an incentive, not it's hitting them, get him to
Do you
score a
think
touchdown.
he would? Do you think he would have said that
I don't
about
know.
anybody else?
I don't.
I
do. What if Chig needed 100 yards to hit some, but he knew about it?
Then if I'm doing the press conference, I'd have been like, well, I'd get the ball to him if I thought he was going to catch it.
I mean, the problem is there's all these tentacles that go on the hypotheticals with this, but I just know I know I'm a team guy. It's a team sport. There's a reason it's the best sport in the world. And just, I don't know. I was just, and then, you see the Saints, what they did there and all that. I was just like, at what point do you not need coaches? At what point are they just going to, Jameis Winston blatantly disregard a call that came in, right? That's even worse than Tannehill.
Right.
Saying that, right? So, I mean, there's arguments on both sides, but I just see that you want to get your team, right? At that point, your team. And so it just really bugged me the wrong way, man.
I get it, and I'm sure you're not the only one that felt that way. I
think I was on.
I don't have a problem with it
Okay.
because I think he's one of the best offensive players anyway. I didn't have an issue with it. Tannehill made it very look, and Tannehill has every right to feel the way that he feels right now. He got replaced, whether you agree with that decision at the time or not.
Okay.
I think it's the right move moving forward. That you go ahead and turn the keys over to Will Levis. I think you like what you see in him. So he's like, hey, I'm out. I've had a great 5 years. I got one more shot to play. I knew what D-Hop needed. I'm going to make sure we get him the ball. But you were going to be getting him the ball anyway.
We'll never
Still
know.
have some fun. Be a little tongue-in-cheek. Everybody was laughing.
Okay.
Like, I don't have an issue with it.
All right. Well, I mean, there was no, on the report I saw was no like, oh, he was laughing about that. None of that subcontext that goes on there. It's just that what I read, what he said. Not so again, you got a 3rd and 8, and you force it into Hopkins. Because like, why did you throw the ball to him there? Well, it's our last possession, and I want him to get his. How's a coach going to react to that? I want to hear what a coach says about that. I mean, we're at Opryland Hotel with 5,000 high school, college coaches around. I mean, what do you react when your player doesn't do the call that comes in, and then the excuse is, well, I want to get my guy his incentive bonus. I was like, come on with that, man. So evidently, I'm in the 5% of people agreeing with me on that. Well, it's fine. I mean, if I'm going to die on that hill, I'll die on that hill all day long.
So what do you think about Jameis Winston?
Awful. I mean, you can't suspend him. Season's over with.
No, and I think his contract may be up anyway.
Right. I mean,
so it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, and Arthur Smith is look, and we've been on these airwaves like, if you want to stop me,
Sure.
stop me, right?
But the play call was victory.
Play
The
call was
formation.
victory. And the thing was, one of the players or an ex-player had said, look, in those situations when you see the victory, you relax.
Yeah.
You know, the game's over, you kind of relax. And so the Saints just blew off the ball, man, and knocked a lot of the Falcons players on their butt. And, like, that's how guys get injured like that and when we're doing things like that. But Jameis was unabashed. He just went on and said, hey, we want to get our guy ball into the end zone.
And look, I would give him credit. And the reporter that he kind of went back and forth with, the reporter's like, hey, I disagree with you. And
yeah.
it was kind of like, I respectfully agree to disagree here. And, but his whole thing was, Jameis's whole thing was, well, it was the team. It was the team's decision. The team decided to do that. I don't think so. I think you decided.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he probably went in and said, we're going to get whoever it was the ball, then
Right.
he scores first touchdown of the year and get him in there. And so, you blatantly disregard what the coach had called in to do. And then I felt bad for Dennis Allen because I was thinking, you're up that big. There's no way. There's no coach in the world now that's going to do that, right? Now, back in the day, they do it all the time. But today, you're at 41-17 in the NFL. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And they scored, and Arthur Smith was livid.
Yeah, and some people are texting in, basically saying, like, quarterbacks change the play at the line all the time. And
No, I get that's an audible.
That's an audible. That's different. But when your coach calls victory formation, which means you're going to kneel down and you're going to run the clock out and the game's over and you're up 41-17, you're going to win the ball game. That's a little bit different.
It is, but the Tannehill thing too as well. I mean, it's like, all right, we're going to call this play. Here's an audible. And what's your excuse if you force a pass into Hopkins on 3rd and 8 and he's double teamed when a guy's open on the other side?
But I don't believe he's going to do that. I think Ryan Tannehill is professional and smart enough
I hope
that, like, it was tongue-in-cheek. He was joking with the media that, like, I think he wanted to get him the ball. He was going to do everything he could to get him the ball. But the scenario you laid out, if Burks is standing wide open in the end zone and that you and I could see that and Hopkins is double covered, I think he's going to go to Burks.
I hope he will go to Burks. I hope he'll go to Burks.
I don't think he's that dumb.
But if it's the last play of the game, he's going to go to Hopkins. I see where
on
this
the
can
last
go.
play of the game, when you're trying to win the game, hell yeah, you're going to go to Hopkins.
When Burks is wide open?
If Burks is wide open, that's different. But Hopkins, the initial play call is probably going to be to Hopkins.
So you got 3rd and 15, and Hopkins runs a 5-yard crossing route. You know he's going to get a first down. You're going to still throw the ball to him on 3rd and 15?
Well, he's
so,
not going to run.
So he can get his incentive?
My point is Tim Kelly's going to design the play to go to Hopkins. Hopkins is the best player.
But Tannehill just said, I'm going to go rogue. I'm going to do something else. That's what I'm saying on this.
Okay.
At what point?
But they weren't going to cut. Like, it was always going to go to Hopkins. They don't trust Burks.
But you don't know that. Well, it could be Che. It could be somebody else. It could be Tajay Spears. I'm just saying, run the play that's called. If it's not there, call an audible. But don't call an audible to get into your guy's hand so he can hit an incentive bonus. Well, what are we doing here? Is that benefiting the team? No, it's not.
I think it was very tongue-in-cheek.
Well, I didn't hear the interview.
The Jameis Winston thing was different. The Jameis Winston thing, he deserves to be
But
to-
it's
to be
still
punished.
in the same arena of like you didn't run the call that was called that we brought into you, and that's the problem I got with that. That's it.
Yeah, David in Arkansas. I don't think Tannehill does or says that if he's returning next year. Like you said, what has he got to lose at this point? What are they going to do? Fire him?
Right.
The organization failed him these last couple of years, so why not try to get your wide receiver extra cash on your way out?
Fine. That's fine. If I'm a coach, I'm like, look, man.
And I may be talking out of both sides of my mouth. I had a problem with the Jameis Winston. I didn't have a problem with Tannehill.
Fine. It's an opinion.
But like Tannehill did run the plays. He joked, but to our knowledge, he didn't call any. He didn't go
A
right.
quarterback is aware of where his guys are and incentive-wise and bonus-wise. Come on, man. Come on. I get it. So they're all buddy now and gets his money, but if I'm a coach, I'm not happy with that. I'm just not.
We will reset the coaching news. What do you think? Does Mike Vrabel return to the Titans next year? 615-737-1025. We're live at Opry Lane Hotel today and Convention Center, the American Football Coaches Association, their annual convention here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hour number 2, Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. He's Big Joe Dubin. I'm Chasing McCabe, live today at the Opryland Hotel, the 2024 AFCA American Football Coaches Association Convention. Joe just saw the entire Colorado coaching staff minus one person.
Yeah, I'm looking. There's Ohio State staff was right over there too as well. So a lot of coaches in town. If you didn't know, the American Football Coaches Association Convention is in town. Like every college and most high, we talked to Dustin Wilson, Springfield High School coaches here. So high school and college. I know we have a lot of people listening in Clarksville, and the AFCA coaches poll just came out. And congrats to Austin Peay, finished number 12 in the country in the AFCA FCS Coaches Top 25 poll. I know Scotty Walden left to take over UTEP, but still, congrats to Austin Peay for coming at 12th in the poll.
Yes, indeed. There's a big college football game tonight. You can tune in tonight on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan for the college football national championship game. It starts at 7. Following the Commodore Hour on 102.5 The Game tonight, presented by Twin Peaks Empowerment Tractor and Equipment. That is tonight on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. So looking forward to that between Michigan and Washington.
If he wins, does he go?
I think so. I'm actually thinking that he's going to. And I was going to bring this up with you that Jordan Schultz from Bleacher Report put out about 45 minutes ago that Harbaugh, the Jim Harbaugh, is people within the Raiders organization really want Jim Harbaugh. And I'm like, you have your guy. You have your guy. Don't do this.
People within.
They don't do this. Don't do this twice. They should have hired Bisaccia.
Yep.
A few years ago. They went with McDaniels. We saw how that turned out.
True.
You have your guy in Antonio Pierce. He's done a fantastic job. Take the interim tag off. Make him the head coach. I think Harbaugh ends up going to the Chargers anyway.
Back in L.A.
Yep, got the quarterback.
Yep. I mean,
but I do. I
sets
think.
up.
I think win or lose, I think he goes back to the NFL.
I think so too. I think it's you don't want to deal with this anymore, right? I mean,
right.
And now people are like, well, if they win, it's going to be vacated, and what's going to happen there? Who knows? But I just hope it's a good football game tonight between both these schools. And I mean, Michigan probably thought would be there, but Washington, did we think this back in the summer? No, we didn't.
Yeah.
So good for the Huskies, man.
Yep. I'm excited about this game tonight. I think it'll be fun. I was wrong on Washington. I thought that Washington would get exposed in the playoff, and they haven't to this point. Now, if you really want to, people were comparing them to TCU. Oh, they're this year's TCU. Well, then they'll get beat 68-3 tonight,
Right.
By Michigan.
God, that was a terrible game.
Right. So hopefully that's not the case for them. But I hope it's a good game for sure later on tonight. But news around the league: Ron Rivera out in Washington, Arthur Smith out in Atlanta. We talked a little bit about the end of that game yesterday, but Arthur Blank. And what was interesting is at 12:01 a.m. that's when the news came out from Arthur Blank that Arthur Smith was going to be gone, and so the official beginning of Black Monday, and Art was the Coach Art, as they like to call him, was the first coach let go. There's been a GM. The GM in Carolina's been let go. Bill Belichick had his press conference at about 4:30 this morning to basically say he's still under contract but open to making changes. One thing that really came out is that that he's willing to relinquish some personnel control. Do you think that really fixes something?
No, not at all. I don't. They was all high on Mac Jones, and Mac Jones has been terrible up there for him. So I don't know. But, I mean, look, everything's got an expiration date, right? Everything's got a shelf life. We talk about that all the time. And it's okay if Belichick wants to kind of ride off into the sunset and be done with it and get another job someplace else. Look, a coach wants to coach, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be New England or someplace else. And he can go do what he wants. But, I mean, I think it's time, right, for Belichick?
I think so too.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask the question. I'll ask the question to you, and I'll ask the question to the people. Would you take the swap? Vrabel for Belichick. There needs to be draft picks in there. I don't think it's a straight-up one-for-one. especially at Belichick's age. But would you take the swap that basically Mike Vrabel goes to New England, Bill Belichick comes here?
That's a great question. I mean, that would be the guy's the greatest coach ever, 6 Super Bowls that he's won. I mean, that's undisputed on that. But, yeah, it's just these last couple of years without Brady, has it tarnished his legacy? They haven't been to the playoffs.
I mean,
The playoffs,
I
right?
think-
Once?
I think it's affected his legacy.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's affected his legacy.
Lightning in the bottle with Brady. That's a great question. I think most fans would say no.
I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer whenever he's eligible. You can't take that away from him. 6 championships. How many appearances?
He lost 3, so 9.
Yeah.
And he won 2 with the Giants. So there's
As
8
an
rings
assistant. Yeah.
he's got
so
there.
look,
he's got a house in Franklin.
Sure.
His
So
wife, fiance's from here.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I wouldn't do it.
No, I don't know.
Not at this point. I think. I mean, look, I'd keep Vrabel at least one more year.
Man,
But you have to know that he's 100% in, and you got to get this stuff figured out with. You got to come out and say who's in charge.
Right.
This whole collaboration thing doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work at all. And that's probably the crux of the problem we're having here with figuring out who's running that football team. You don't know what's going on right there. And so, look, it's going to paralyze this city for the next 48, 72 hours, I think,
Yeah.
to figure out and see what happens and what goes on. But as we've covered this a long time, expect the unexpected, what's going to happen here. So we think Vrabel
2
comes
people
back.
say hell no.
Yeah, I think it's going to be on merits, yes, because you're getting the Super Bowl coach. But I think with what's going on the last 4 seasons since Brady's been gone, I think it's soured a lot on him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Belichick should just, if Kraft has fully decided, hey, I'm ready to move on, then you go to him, you say, Bill, I'll use this comparison. It's like David Poyle. You deserve every accolade that you have and you're going to get. And we're going to make this a big deal. We'll have a big ceremony. We'll have all those things, which I know Belichick didn't care about that stuff. But you make it as right as it can be. But you say it's time. And look, a lot of times the person you have to have somebody tell you that it's time. And I think Belichick needs that. And then you immediately put him in the Patriots Hall of Fame. You do all that stuff. And you call it a day. And you let him ride off into the sunset. Now, he's probably not going to do that because he's stubborn and he's Belichick. And, he's like, I'm under contract, and he's going to pull all that crap. But that's how I would try to do it if I'm Bob Kraft, and he be done.
I saw some about him going to Carolina. I just think that would not be a good fit for him in Carolina. And it's look, I mean, age is a thing, right? Was he 72, 73? I mean, that's going to be brought up as well on that. But coaches, I mean, all he knows is coaching, and that's it.
Here's something. Andrew from Dover, and he's joking, but bill to the Tide for the Saban coaching rehabilitation program. If Belichick did, essentially retire, but doesn't want to truly retire, Saban would let him come hang out. They're buddies. He could watch film, do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and be casual about it.
Because anybody that's been in the business, as long as Belichick has been in the business, they don't actually retire. They will find something to do. It's like Floyd. I asked Floyd one time, like, why do you want to do a radio show? You had a great career and everything. He joked. He said, well, Sally got tired of me being bored and wanted me to do something, and I enjoy it. It gives me something to do. I'm used to doing something. I don't want to just sit and do nothing.
Look at the coaches that retire, like Bear retired and then he passed away. Paterno retired, forced out, whatever, and passed away. I mean, those. Yeah. I mean, that's the life they know, and there's nothing wrong with that. So
I mean, Bowden had his sons, that he kind of lived through and stuff after he retired. But I mean, still, you do something for so long.
Yep.
You can't just ask the guy to just quit.
Yeah, so I'm going to say no, and I think a lot of people would say no, too.
Most people are saying.
Could you imagine if it happens, though? Lord. But no, but there's, again, be wary of what you read out there regarding Vrabel and this job because so many people want to be first.
Yeah.
and they'll just jump out there and put it. We'll just get it and react to it.
2491. Now this is interesting. No way he retires 14 wins away from passing Shula.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. He wants that. I mean, that's going to go for it and get it. And just this year was just bad. But again, I mean, you look at it as bad as, he's been without Brady these last 4 seasons. I don't know. But he's been mentioned just like every job opening. Would you take him? And, I was reading this morning, Washington would love to have him.
I'm coming up next. There's a name that I don't think is going to come up in these searches, but I'm wondering if it should. We'll discuss that next. Chasing Big Joe live at Opryland today, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, live today at the Opryland Hotel. Jonathan Hutton coming up in just a few minutes. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans and what could or could not be with them on the horizon. One thing that happened over the weekend, gutsy win by the Predators down in Dallas on Saturday, 4-3 over the Dallas Stars. They had a 2-0 lead. Dallas battled back. Andrew Brunette commented on that you a good team like Dallas, which a lot of people, have in that upper echelon in the NHL right now, you can't give them, any type of opening, and they did. But the Predators were able to hang on. They retook the lead, had a 4-2 lead at one point. Philip Forsberg with a 2-goal game. Dallas did add another one, but ultimately able to hold on and get that 4-3 win. Really liked, that effort there and what they were able to do Saturday night in Dallas, as the Predators will then now return home. And I thought, look, that was a good bounce back after Thursday. Thursday was not ideal at all. Nobody liked that game. They all said that. And then for Dallas, or for the Predators to go down to Dallas and get that win, I thought that was gutsy and a big one for them. And so they're back at it tomorrow night at Bridgestone Arena against the Anaheim Ducks. And then they go back to Dallas on Friday to take on the Stars again before returning to Smashville Saturday night against the New York Islanders. JoJo has rejoined us.
Sorry, man.
You found somebody didn't you?
Yeah, there's about, I guess, 10,000 coaches that are all congregated over here. So we've got my man, Coach Wells, Eastern Kentucky. Welcome to the convention.
What's up, Coach? Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Appreciate y'all being here and having me on. And it's a fun time at the convention. It's probably my, 30-something. And I don't think I've missed one in 30 years.
What's the purpose of all this?
Well, there's a lot of purposes. And I think the main purpose is for a lot of guys to get together that hadn't seen each other. This is a big relationship business. And, everybody wants every coach fired after every game. So you got to have good relationships, and so you can continue to coach in this business. Number two is what's going on right out here. A lot of speakers, everybody sharing ideas, whether it's culture, whether it's how you run your program, whether it's how you run a play or a protection or a coverage or whatever, special teams. And then they give awards. They do, I accepted the Amos Alonzo Stagg Award last year for Coach Roy Kidd.
Right.
And there's only been probably 50 of them given out. And he was, he got his last year, thankfully right before he passed. And so, just little things like, All-American teams, good works teams, for the young men that do a great job and the coaches,
Sure.
And things like that. So it's a professional development 3 days. I'm not going to deny that there's a lot of beer drank and a lot of guys running around doing stupid stuff, acting like frat boys again or
Right.
college football players again or whatever. But, the older you get, the less you do of all that, and the more you get into, like I said, you just go to dinner with coaches from a lot of different staffs and just talk to them and just,
There's 6 huge billboards, or what do you call this? Bulletin boards.
Bulletin boards.
Resumes tagged. Do people tag resumes, job openings? I mean, that works, right?
Yes,
Used to.
It worked a lot better in the old days before email and,
Yeah.
kids are doing so many great things. I call them kids, but young men are doing so many great things today with their resumes and their programming and how they can present themselves and sell themselves that, it's good to put that on there to get a name, but, in reality, it's just I think one of our GAs last year did that, though, and got a job at UNLV as a GA. So, I think it still works.
Right.
It's just how many, in 30 years, I've never walked over and looked at a resume. So doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. It's just that's how it goes sometimes.
Well, it's crazy to think, too, that, like, you talk about players and, they have Huddle and YouTube and, like, everything's on that now, where used to you'd have to call somebody to get a tape on a kid, or
That's right. That's
right.
right.
Like I remember being in high school, coaches, riding out with the coaches to trade tape. The
right.
Saturday morning after a game. You don't have to do that anymore. It's just it's changed so much.
We were talking about that at dinner the other night, me and Joe. I used to take it from my brother who was at Smyrna at that time, and I was getting into the business, deciding if I wanted to get into the business. And I did scouting for Smyrna High School, and then I would go and trade tapes for them.
Yeah.
And, and just, put them in a mailbox and pick them up out of a mailbox and, and stuff like that. And now everything's done with a push of a button, through email. You don't do any of that. And Huddle's been fantastic for recruiting for us. It's easy for somebody now they can just, if they got my number, they can just text me or text a member of our staff or anything like that. And so it's been, the technology side of football is grown tremendously. You got PFF now. You got all these things. What is that? CI or whatever.
Yeah.
Intelligence things that's going on.
Yeah,
That's
the
creeping
CSI.
into, whatever.
Right.
That's CSI. The other one. AI.
AI. There you go.
AI, artificial intelligence. Yeah, that one's coming in and starting to come into football. So we're going to figure out how that's going to affect football. In fact, it ain't going to affect us right now at our level. But it's going to, hit in the SEC and hitting them, and it's going to start creeping down in the next 2 to 3 years. So,
How beneficial, though, is it to be able to interact with coaches that are in the Power Five and, have some of those things that it all trickles down eventually?
Right.
But to be able to kind of pick their brain of, hey, what do you think about this? And obviously I know the portal comes up quite a bit too.
Well, it's football is always been about sharing, and nobody's got the original idea. Somebody originally does, obviously, but, everybody shares, everybody sees tape. The biggest thing is having the relationships to go in and talk to those people, and they have the trust that you're not going to tell their opponents what's going on, but you're going to keep it to yourself. And there's a little espionage going on in that, and trust. And, you just, like I said, you come here, you get to see them. The negative of the timing of this event now is with the college football playoffs being pushed back, those guys don't get here. Used to they would crown all the champions here.
Right.
Because everything was done. Now it's not. And, I think, in the next 5 years they'll reevaluate the timing of this because it's right in them. You can't stand there and talk to somebody for 5 minutes without a phone call or a text from a portal guy, and they have to run and take it. And it's just all you're doing is working from a hotel room instead of from your office or your home or wherever you're
Technology.
at. And technology is great, but it's the whole thing just probably needs to be changed. And talking about this event, in my opinion, so people can come because, really, some of the guys don't come anymore just because they're worn out.
Right.
They want to just spend 3 days at home and answer those phone calls and, decompress. A lot of them just got done with bowl games or, playoff games or things like that.
Do they send people?
Well, staff's got like for me, I say, who wants to go? Just let us know it's a professional development or a university will pay for it. Who wants to go? And then they just sign up and go. They get with my chief of staff and he figures it all out and they go. But, it's less and less and less. Especially guys from the big Power Fives because the pressure is so great on them to get those recruits and get them in. And a lot of it depends on your institution's, spring schedule?
Right.
Yeah.
Because, we don't go back to school until the 16th.
Another week.
So we got another week to try to hang on to the guys committed because the only thing that keeps a portal guy committed is his butt in a classroom or logged on to an online class.
Right.
That's the only thing.
Wow.
And so you're constantly worried.
I bet.
Right now, somebody, we got 4 guys recruited, and somebody's recruiting the crap out of them right now. So are we, but somebody else is too. And we're doing the same thing to other people.
Sure.
We're talking to Walt Wells, head coach at Eastern Kentucky, Nashville native here today. We got an ethical question we want to ask you as a head coach real quick. Yesterday in the Saints-Falcons game, they're on the 1-yard line. Game's over, and Dennis Allen calls a victory formation. Jameis Winston changes the play to get a guy scores first touchdown of his career. And Arthur Smith, the Falcons, went crazy. Dennis Allen said, hey, we called the victory formation. Jameis Winston's like, hey, we want to get our guy in the end zone. As a head coach, we've had this debate all morning, would you be upset that your guys changed the call for that?
Would I be upset as the Saints head coach at Jameis? Yeah, I wouldn't be upset, but I'd walk over to him and say, hey, man, give me a heads up. If we want to do that, let's talk about that. You know, because there is some. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do for this guy, but I
Right.
also don't want to embarrass this guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's fighting for his job over there. Think about that, Jameis. You fought for your job before. You know, I mean, you know, and Jameis is just in the moment doing what he wanted to do. And, you know, was it a selfish act? Probably so. On Jameis's part, it was unselfish to the running back, but it was, you know, I mean, are there any ethics anymore in the world?
Right.
I mean, so
It's $1 million question.
so that you know, am I going to be the one that stands up for them and fights for them? I don't know. In certain things, I will.
Right.
What would I have done? I'd have called victory too and kneeled on it and walked out the door. And my initial reaction would have been to yell at Jameis and, you know, be like, hey, man, what the, you know, blankety blank are you doing?
Right.
And when he'd explained himself, I probably would have been like, well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you know, you're right. But in the end, hey, man, let's talk about that.
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about that and not it get, you know, and if we're going to get in victory formation and do, because that's the only way that play probably would have worked.
Yeah.
And it is pretty, you know, I mean, you're up. How many scores was it?
It was 41 to 17.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I get all parties involved. And as anything that breaks down in the world is communication.
Yep.
And it's the most important piece of leadership, in my opinion, the most important piece in being who you have to be to constantly keep people consistent.
Right.
And you know, they should have communicated about it. So, I would have kneeled on it, and I'd have been pissed at Jameis. But then when I heard the story, I'd have been like, I mean, you know, it's a dog-eat-dog world in
That's
the
right.
NFL.
Right.
I mean,
You're right.
You know,
You're right.
in the end, hey, Arthur, you know, you'll be all right. You're not going to starve.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for your time, man. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but appreciate you.
No.
We'll get with you in a little bit.
Yeah,
too, as
sounds
well.
good. All
Good to
right.
see you, Coach.
Appreciate you guys. Good work.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Coach Walt Wells with us, Eastern Kentucky head football coach. We'll come back with Jonathan Hutton, get his thoughts on everything with the Titans yesterday and moving forward. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McKay, Big Joe Dubin with you live today at Opryland, the American Football Coaches Association convention. Appreciate Walt Wells for stopping by and saying hello, but we continue the Titans discussion now. Do we have Hutton with us?
We sure do.
All right, we say hello to Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow is the show, weekdays 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan. And Hutton, do you think that we saw Derrick Henry right off into the sunset as a Titan yesterday at Nissan Stadium?
I do. I think we saw his final game. And it goes back to a conversation I believe Big Joe and I had. Chase, I can't remember if you had suit duties or not, okay? I get the sense the guy wants to go win. And he's the last 8 years and everything, it's been great, but it's not just about, well, do the Titans want him back? Do I think Derrick Henry would want to be back under the right circumstances? Absolutely. Do I think Derrick Henry wants to be paid? Absolutely. But when he stood at the podium yesterday and said that his priority is winning a Super Bowl, and that's not happening here next year. And if I'm Derrick Henry, just point blank, I've wasted two seasons the last 2 years here. Now, that's the brutal honesty of it. The other brutal honesty piece of this is Derrick Henry was a true pro.
Yep.
Ryan Tannehill, pro, in the way they handled this season. And if I can just have the floor for a moment.
Go ahead.
The way they finished this season is exactly why you don't fire John Robinson on December the 6th of last year and wave the white towel. Because the way the team finished last year compared to the way the team finished this year is a complete 180-degree opposite reaction from the whole mindset and mentality of how you go about a December. And that's why I think the signal last year was they're going to lose out, when this year it was they could lose out, but then we saw them beat Miami and beat Jacksonville and go to overtime twice. I mean, I think it was a good sign for a Mike Vrabel coach team of what we saw yesterday and the way that, certain things happened down the stretch of the regular season. However, I also think it's a great sign of the leadership qualities of some of those guys, namely, let's start with number 22, Derrick Henry.
Locker cleanout is going on as we speak, as players are talking to reporters. Paul Kaharski saying Will Levis votes for continuity. Mike Vrabel said he will communicate with the players as soon as he knows what's going to happen. That's what Will Levis said to the reporters. Do you believe that Mike Vrabel returns as the Titans head coach?
I don't know. I think it's 50-50, Chase. I mean,
yep.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, there's more than that now. There has been a beneath the surface tone and tenor to all of this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And regardless of what Mike Vrabel said last week, do you want to be here? Yes, of course I do. Well, of course he does, under the circumstances of whatever they're going to meet about. And the question is this: while Mike Vrabel may want the power, does he want the power that goes with? He wants the power, but does he want all the work? Who's doing what? And I think the big question with all of this is, what's the structure and who's delegating to do what? Who is pointing and saying, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing that, and here's why, and here's how we're going about it, and how it's all going to be managed. I don't know the management structure of the day-to-day football, the daily life and structure of what goes on behind those doors. And to me, that's the frustration with the whole sentiment beneath the tenor of this. Who's doing what, when, and how? And well, who has the final say? Well, you have to come to some type of agreement on when you're going to meet and do those things. And I think how they go about doing that is the frustrating part. And here's part two. If Vrabel signs up and comes back for a year, or just says, yeah, I want to be back, he's signing up for a rebuild, correct?
Yes.
He's going to lose next year, correct?
Yes.
He's going to get fired. So if you're going to sign up for a rebuild, only to be the guy who's out and fail, and if you feel like the direction you're going in is headed towards that path, why would you want to stay status quo? I think that's the one thing that has to change, and everybody's getting on the same page with that direction. If Vrabel's coming back, there are going to be changes. And if Vrabel's going to have more power, I still think there will be another structure than just Vrabel's the general manager. Vrabel's not the general manager. Rand Carthon's the general manager. But if Rand Carthon's the general manager, then let him be the general manager. That's what has to be determined, and there has to be something else involved, because whatever they did this year with the whole collaborative effort is just not that just didn't work, because there was nothing collaborative about the messages that were sent out through the media or not sent out through the media or the rumor mills from New England. I mean, at some point, what perception's reality, and the perception right now I have is those two don't like each other, and what does Amy Adams-Strunk have to say about it? And what does Mike Vrabel want? Does Mike Vrabel want to do something where, I mean, okay, real quick, let's just compare New England. New England's going to also be in a rebuild. Well, why would he want to go and rebuild in New England when he can rebuild in Tennessee and have all the money? Because in New England, he has more than a year if he has another bad season.
Right.
He has time. He has a time to do it his way. That is the value. And by the way, Mike Vrabel just wants to coach ball. Now, he's going to do it his way, but he can only do so much of that. I don't think he wants to be the day-to-day operations general manager. I think he wants to coach football. And I think it comes down to that. What gets him more time to have more say, but also go coach the football team and have say over the roster and do things his way.
Jonathan, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Who do you think Amy Adams, her confidant is? Who does she talk to? I mean, surely she bounces something off. Is it Mike Keith? I mean, I want to know who she talks to kind of, and I think it would be kind of not smart not to have somebody like, all right, let's weigh this together. Does she have that person?
Well, 26 years there, Joe, for Mike. Everyone talks to Mike Keith. Come on.
Right.
You have to get an appointment. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Vrabel's meeting with Mike will take place after the meeting with Amy because it takes so long to get to Mike's office. No, Joe, I think she speaks to those within the organization that she has put in place. Let's start with the two that come to mind for me. Burt Nighill, Adolfo Birch, who she brought back from the NFL back to Nashville. But also, I think she does pick up the phone and talk to Mike Vrabel quite a bit. I do think that she speaks with Rand Carthon a lot. I mean, I know that, whenever I remember Robinson saying he would talk to Amy every single Monday, multiple times every Monday. That was their day to speak. So I don't think that she is only having one meeting, and this is the meeting, whenever it takes place this week. I think it's more, around the circles. She's making the calls or speaking to whoever she needs to speak to. Who is she leaning on? That's a great question, because it doesn't, Joe, it doesn't feel like, it's not like we know this. It doesn't feel like she leaned on Mike Vrabel for the general manager hire, right?
True.
So
yeah.
Who was that? Well, there's multiple opinions about who that was, but it was within the organization. I know who was in the interview room: Burt Nighill, Adolfo Birch, and a few others. So, yeah, I mean, I tend to think that there's a sentiment of, okay, last year there was a tone of, well, Vrabel got more of the power because Robinson was out. Well, then you hire a first-time general manager. Vrabel's got the power. He's been there. Well, at what point does the general manager, Rand Carthon, get more of that say? Because last offseason, it felt like the first-time general manager was brought in to rebuild the depth that wasn't there, and the head coach wanted to do more than just be a rebuilding type franchise at that point. It's not oil and water, but it certainly wasn't the same lane on the same road.
It's interesting, and Josina Anderson just put out that league sources are telling her it's 50-50 at this point when it comes to Mike Vrabel. So
and you know what?
going to be interesting.
Because there's so many different ways. So Vrabel's very opinionated. He's going to tell it like it is. We know Amy Adams Strunk, when she makes up her mind, she makes up her mind. And, I mean, where's Rand Carthon in this? I want to know, like, the
Does
one,
he
the
have a
one
say?
voice in the room that no one's considering. What is he going to say in that meeting?
Right.
So, and how what does that carry within the room? It should carry something. He's the general manager. But again, the communication level of what's gone on this season and how much or how little they have actually communicated. I mean, if there's more to the beneath the surface rumor mill than, what some want to believe, then that could boil over. I mean, it's 50-50 on how things react. And just real quick. If Vrabel's going into the meeting looking for more power, I don't think he's looking for more say on his own plate. My opinion only. Have not heard this.
Sure.
My opinion only. I think he would want some delegation within the Carthon realm of, okay, here's what we need to make things better on the football end of things. And would that be bringing in someone? Would that be a new executive vice president of football? Something. Because keep in mind, Robinson was also the team president. So I don't think Vrabel's looking to be like, it's me or Rand. I mean, if it's Vrabel, he's going to need other people than just it's me or Rand. Because I think, again, Vrabel's tired. Look at him. He's talking about not sleeping. He's pissed off for greatness. He does not want to lose. And yeah, there's not a lot of options where if he leaves, he's going to win immediately. But again, he's going to be able to do it under his structure, and he knows that he will have landing spots. He will, and I don't think they just want to fire him. But again, that's also a possibility because Amy did just up and fire John Robbins.
Sure. She's unpredictable. I don't think we know what's going to happen.
So is Vrabel.
And so is Vrabel. Hud, appreciate it as always. We will see what we're talking about this time next week. Thanks, my friend.
Yep. Anytime, guys. Always enjoy this. Have a great week.
Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow. Weekdays 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan. We'll come back, put a bow on things, give you celebrity birthdays as well. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, the game. Real quick, Josina Anderson saying, I'm told the Carolina Panthers at a high level has made informal inquiries regarding Patriots head coach Bill Belichick and its vacancy. Additionally, I'm told there's been a desire in the Falcons building to at least determine if Belichick would be a good fit. When I asked a source within the hour, what's the latest vibe in the Patriots building so far, they said, quote, everything is status quo, end quote.
All right. Well, there
So
you
just
go.
something to pay attention to. I have that feeling.
Okay.
I think Vrabel should be back, but I have a feeling.
Is that
Just have that.
that feeling you told me 2 minutes ago off air?
Yeah, it could be. it could be that.
Oh. All right. Well, time for our. You know what? Hit it, Nick.
I have a feeling it's time for celebrity birthdays.
We'll make this quick today. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
One birthday.
Okay.
How old would Elvis Presley be today had he lived?
Hang on.
Today's his birthday. How old would he be?
88.
Dr. Crane?
93.
The winner today in the one question celebrity birthday, Chase McCabe. Elvis would have been 89 today.
Oh, wow.
Well done.
Well, you want to know how I came to that deductive
Sure.
reasoning? Because in 1956, he was 21, and that's when he hit it big. So I
Hey,
tried to
what-
do some quick math.
That you did it.
Do you
fine
know what
there.
is 24 years old today?
The Music City Miracle?
It's fielded by
24.
Lorenzo Neal. He hands it to Wycheck. That's a terrible Mike Keith.
That's pretty bad.
Sorry, Mike. But
24 years ago today. Thanks to all we talked to some coaches here today at the American Football Coach Association Convention at the hotel. They're all in town. A lot of fun. As we leave you, we talk to you every morning. Remember, if you're struggling out there, our guys out there, if you're struggling, please talk to somebody. Dial 988 on your cell phone. As we tell you every time, you're on this planet. God put you on this planet for a purpose that only you could do. That we love you. You're irreplaceable, and know that we think about you all day.
Amen to that. Since we have 30 seconds left, William Nylander has signed an 8-year deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs. $69 million paid out as a signing bonus. The total is $92 million, 11.5 per. What a deal for him.
Good
as
for
he has
him.
been extended. Yes or no? Mike Vrabel is the head coach of the Tennessee Titans this time tomorrow.
No. Yes. Tomorrow. Yes. In a week, no.
Okay. All right. We will see. We'll keep you updated here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.